Hello, Magic players and collectors. Welcome back to the Land Library. I'm your librarian, and today we're talking about Arcavios. As you might already know, Arcavios just got its second set, Secrets of Strixhaven, so what better time to talk about it? Arcavios is best known for its Magic University Strixhaven, both in-universe and out, as both of its sets are named after the university, and it has long been the most elite school of magic across the multiverse in-universe. But the plane is a bit more than just Strixhaven University, or at least it kind of is. There's not a lot of lore outside of Strixhaven, but there is still some background. Several thousand years ago, but without a specific date for the exact time frame, the plane was formed by the merging of two other, unnamed planes. Very little is known about these original planes except that they did not quite merge smoothly. Both planes' ley lines didn't line up with each other, creating areas with twisted up tangles of mana of opposing colors, called snarls. This imperfect merging also left Arcavios with both sons of the original planes, so it does have two sons. It also left a lot of confused creatures who now had to adapt to their new home. Predictably, this mingling of ecosystems and mana led rise to many new creatures as well, including the first sentient beings, the five elder dragons, each forming from a different snarl. For quite some time, these dragons were more or less alone to master their magic until negative 2438 AR when the humanoid races started to appear. These new sentient races brought conflict with them, advancing to the Blood Age. The next several thousand years were defined by violent, gruesome wars and not much else. It's a bit surprising that all the humanoid races didn't wipe each other out during this age, although it's possible that some did. There definitely were some lost civilizations during this time. The dragons had ignored the problems of the humanoids for so long because they didn't really like that they were trying to use magic and not doing a very good job, but they did eventually come to the conclusion that the way to fix the problem of them poorly using magic was to teach them how to properly use magic. So the Blood Age officially ended in 3861 AR with the founding of Strixhaven, and starting off the Mystic Age. Each dragon founded a campus in their home snarl, as well as a central one together, and taught different subjects to the different people at their schools. But eventually the dragons stopped running everything themselves, opting to just sort of wander and do whatever they want, and leave the school to operate on its own. Strixhaven continued to thrive and become the most prestigious magic school in the multiverse, attracting students from all across the plane and even off-plane planeswalkers. But Arcavios would become aware of other planes in 4562 AR when the new Phyrexians invaded the multiverse. The Phyrexian invasion primarily focused on Strixhaven, as that was by far the biggest threat to their resistance. If Strixhaven fell, the rest of the plane had no chance. And despite doing quite a bit of damage, the Phyrexians were repelled, but left behind the Omen Paths. With this new awareness of other planes, Strixhaven started sending out invitations to promising young mages across the multiverse and rebuilding their damaged campuses. There's basically six major landmarks to discuss, but it's just kind of the campuses of Strixhaven, which are all very close together on a tiny part of the plane, but the cards and stories that exist on this plane just heavily focus on Strixhaven. Starting with the central campus, this one is the main campus that the rest branch off of. This is where classes for first year students are, and then they choose from among the other campuses on their second year. This is also where a lot of faculty buildings are, and the Strixhaven Stadium. And very importantly, the Biblioplex. The Biblioplex is a massive library, the largest in the multiverse, containing countless books, scrolls, spells, and any other written knowledge. The library is so vast that the inside has its own weather system. There is also a restricted wing called the Mystical Archive containing the most powerful spells and guarded by a kraken. And in the center of the Biblioplex is the Strixhaven Snarl, a colorless snarl in a special chamber called the Hall of Oracles. Now, for some cards, there's actually quite a few lands here. Of course, the Biblioplex, Great Hall of the Biblioplex, Hall of Oracles, Archway Commons, and Access Tunnel. Then probably Study Hall, but I'm not entirely certain. It's probably inside the Biblioplex, but I can't confirm that. Then there's also a playing card of Strixhaven, and some just arts with Fabled Passage, Command Tower, and 3 different cards with the Strixhaven Stadium, with Spectator Seating, Undergrowth Stadium, and Vault of Champions. And then finally, Terramorphic Expanse, I think, is likely the Strixhaven Snarl before the university was built, but that's not confirmed. Then for the various colored campuses, I'm not entirely sure what order they would go in, so I'm just going to go alphabetically, which makes the first campus Lorehold, which is red and white with studies focused on history, and majors like archaeology, anthropology, theology, and some less history ones like education, business, and political science. The Lorehold campus sits atop a large chasm, or more like in and on top, because the chasm, called the Pillar Drop, is full of more buildings than the surface is. The Pillar Drop is actually the remnants of a lost civilization from the Blood Age that Lorehold students actively continue to excavate, which expands available space for classrooms and housing. And the main part of the campus up on the surface is called Effigy Row, with an especially large gallery at the back called Kolema Hall, where giant ancient scrolls are kept and studied. As for cards, there's just Lorehold Campus and Fury Column Snarl. Next up, Prismari is blue and red, with studies focused on the arts, and majors like art, dance, fashion design, music, and theater. The Prismari campus is practically a maze filled with winding paths, twisted buildings, and plenty of art, called the Opus Walk, and there's a central tower called the Conduit Hall, which is the primary location of classes. Then, just outside the campus, is the Fury Gale, a wasteland of abandoned art and magical energies that is quite dangerous but also a popular spot for students to find inspiration. And the cards are Prismari Campus and Frostboil Snarl, with an extra art on Training Center. Then Quandrix is green and blue, with studies focused on mathematics and majors like physics, accounting, economics, astronomy, and engineering. The campus is full of gardens surrounding the main building, which is also kind of in like a big chasm, but there's not a old lost civilization down there. It's just like a bottomless pit situation. The main building, Toros Hall, which has a consistent changing layout, is only accessible by bridges. And there's also a different building, completely separate, in a very different area, called the Arithmodome, which from the outside is just a 10-foot cube that looks like it's made of water, and when you go inside, it has a seemingly infinite interior, where mages of all levels like to go to practice theoretical math magic. The cards are Quandrix Campus, Fine Glimmer Snarl, and an art on Rejuvenating Springs. Then we've got Silverquill, which is white and black, with studies focused on speech, and majors like journalism, linguistics, law, foreign language, and marketing. The campus is basically a small city, with the Grand Loft Hall in the center acting as the main space to practice speech magics. It's full of balconies, booths, and just spaces with great acoustics. Then there's the Rose Stage, a large amphitheater where students practice performances and spar with each other in front of an audience. Then another large facility, the Dramarium, used for physical preparations like fitness training, hair and makeup salons, voice rehearsal booths, and even a sensory deprivation chamber. This one's cards are Silverquill Campus, Shine Shadow Snarl, Umbral Expanse, and Forum of Amity. Actually, a lot of cards on this one. Then finally, we've got Witherbloom, which is black and green, with studies focused on natural science and majors like agriculture, biology, chemistry, medicine, and my own intended major, entomology. The campus is a thick wooded bog with a mansion in the center that's made inside of a massive tree. It's called the Widdershins Hall and is surrounded by wooden walkways and pods leading all over the bog. And speaking of bogs, there's an especially unpleasant area dubbed the Detention Bog, where misbehaving students are sent as punishment. And another untamed area, dubbed Sledgemoor, filled with undead, wild animals, and a long dead titan, and also the best herbs. But nestled between those areas is Wiltroot Hall, the main facility both for medical treatment and medical classes. One last time, the cards are Witherbloom Campus, Necroblossom Snarl, Titan's Grave, and Witch's Clinic. But this isn't where we end because there are still some lesser landmark cards that are elsewhere on the plane. Like the Fields of Strife, located about here on the map, it's an area where spirits of the dead from the Wars of the Blood Age gather, and Lorehold students frequently come here to study them. Touching the spirits will let you experience their memories, and since there wasn't a lot of writing things down during the Blood Age, this is one of the only ways to actually find any real information about the Blood Age. There's also a omen path to Thunder Junction in a hidden cave under the Fields of Strife, which is pretty interesting. Then we've got Paradox Gardens, which is a large region far to the south of Strixhaven with basically no information outside of the card itself. It looks populated, and it's maybe connected to Quandrix, like maybe a lot of the Quandrix students come from this region, but other than its appearance and location, it's all speculation. Then over in the mountains is Spectacle Summit. It's a popular spot for students of Prismari to visit due to its very iconic rock formation and beautiful geysers. But that's really all there is to this one. It's just kind of a cool spot in the mountains, but it does have two lands. And finally, Petrified Hamlet is a small town, or, well, hamlet, in the Hookover region that was magically turned into solid stone. The residents weren't all that affected or even upset because it didn't really do much. It did start to attract tourists due to its unique appearance, so it turned into a tourist town, and that's kind of it. There's also Skycoach Waypoint, which seems to be in the Hookover region as well, but it kind of is just like a bus stop, so it's not really a unique location. And that's all I've got for the landmark lands of Arcavios. If you've made it this far in the video, please drop a like for turn and subscribe for more Landfield content. If I missed anything, got anything wrong, or you just have questions, let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next local landmarks, which is currently undecided.